Today I am back with a weaning tips video for new moms. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back here. If you're new here, karibu sana, and remember to subscribe. So I recently did a weaning essentials video, and today I am back with a weaning tips video for new moms. I believe these are just lessons that I have learned along the way. I believe they will help someone. I learned them myself from other moms from doing an Instagram discussion. If you don't follow me there, you should, at just Margie. We had an Instagram discussion on weaning before I actually weaned my baby, and then we've been having these discussions even during my journey once in a while. And actually, if you go on my page, there's weaning highlights on my Instagram page. So I really believe that this would help a new mom in one way or another. If you are new in this journey, weaning journey, and you're really excited about this, I really hope that these tips come through for you. And if there's any that I will leave out, make sure you add them in the comment section if you have already gone through this. So tip number one, let me tell you, when I was going to wean my son, just a bit of background, I was very excited. I did 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, and so I was really excited. We are starting to eat. That means we are not going to depend on milk alone. Woo! Lo and behold, my son resisted food at first. Let me tell you, you think they love it, Nini. Character development on another level. He was just like, I don't want. Anyway, I remember at 6 months, I decided to start with oat porridge for me. Because I used to take a lot of oats. So me, I used to believe whatever is in my system, this baby will enjoy it because they enjoyed breast milk. But anyway, that went really well because I had introduced oats blended, then make porridge, then added breast milk, and it was very light. The first meal, I remember I was very excited. He had it so well. But I've learned a lot along the journey. Now, point number one, you have to be very patient. Your baby is learning something new. Food, the concept of food is very new, especially those who've taken a while exclusive breastfeeding. They're learning food. There are those who wean earlier at 4.5 months, around there 4 months. Either way, I think you need a lot of patience. You are learning your baby is learning this new thing. There's a lot of things that happen at 6 months, developmental things. So weaning is not the only thing that they are learning so many things, other skills. There's a big leap at 6 months, 6-month regression, and most of the babies, their sleep is usually becomes very bad at around 6 months. So in the weaning journey, just remember that you're learning your baby. You need to give them time. My sister always says you're learning whether they're a sweet tooth or a salty tooth. They may like salty things, they may like sweet things. You don't know. You are learning them. So you have to be very, very patient with your baby. If they refuse today, it's okay. Try again in the evening. It's okay, by the way. I used to boil pumpkin and carrots. I've learned, let's boil. And my son hated boiled foods. In fact, once I started frying, using olive oil and kitungu and nyanya, that's when he actually started eating. So throughout, remember, you're learning this person. You're learning what they like. Yeah? So just be very patient. Number two, which goes with number one, give yourself ample feeding time. Now, if you're an impatient person like me, you'd expect that, this food is very little. This baby should eat in 15 minutes. It might go south really fast, or it might go very well. So be patient. My sister used to advise me, give yourself 1 hour of feeding. You need to be very patient with your baby. To date, actually, when we are spacing the time between bedtime and feeding time, we give him 1 hour or 45 minutes of feeding. Some foods are so good, he'll finish in 30 minutes. Some days he just wants 1 hour, eating slowly, entertaining. Yani, just give yourself ample time. Don't be in a hurry to feed your baby. there is no hurry. They're learning something new, and you're also learning them. So be very patient and give yourself ample time. Number 3, start with textures that your baby will, that are palatable for your baby. I was very torn between blending and mashing, and fearing that we will blend for too long and mash for too long and then not move to regular food. But at hindsight, I think it was just okay for me to start with blending. We started with blending, and some babies actually don't start with blending. They start with mashing. So whatever is palatable for your child and easy for them to eat, start with that. I started with blending, and we blended for around 3 months. Then we moved to mashing. But whatever you start with, make sure there is progress. There are those who start with baby-led weaning. Good for you if it works for you. For me, I just started with the traditional way of, blending and then feeding the baby, and then we moved to mashed slowly. So we just used to change consistency. If you were blending very smoothly, then we started changing to something a bit, rougher in texture. And then we stopped blending, then we moved to mash. So start with, there's no pressure. Start with something that is easily palatable for your baby, and then very slowly you will notice that they just eat regular food. Like my son right now, he gets mashed food. He eats mashed food sometimes, but sometimes you just find him eating rice like us or ugali like us. They grow, they develop. I also learned that chewing is a milestone, and it doesn't mean that the baby has to have teeth to start chewing. For us, my baby got teeth at like 10, 11 months. So doesn't mean he wasn't eating. Yeah. So just start with what's palatable and keep it moving. On the 4th point, and now this is on the content of the food that you're weaning your baby with. One of the best advice that I got, like from my weaning Q&A before I started weaning, and from nutritionists, is when you're introducing food, make sure you're introducing a balanced diet. So for example, when you're introducing a meal, make sure it has a carb, make sure it has protein, and it has veggies. All this together. Sometimes normally most people just do a lot of carbs, which is it's not healthy to do too much. Have a balance of all the 3 aspects in your baby's food. And always when you're introducing a snack, for example a fruit, make sure you have fiber-based food and non-fiber. For example, if you're mixing mango and avocado doesn't have fiber, mango has fiber, is rich in fiber. Always ensure that there's a food there that is rich in fiber. Why I say this is going to really sort you out when it comes to constipation. Personally, we've never experienced constipation, and that is one of the things I used to fear the most. So most nutritionists will advise you that you look at the content and make sure that it's balanced, and make sure that the food there's something rich in fiber. That's going to help the baby with the digestive system, and you're not going to have issues with constipation. On tip number 5, just because your baby refuses something today doesn't mean they will not accept it in the future. For example, I was so enthusiastic, hoping that my baby will love Cerelac, because me as a baby, I ate my small sister's Cerelac and I enjoyed it. So I thought my baby will love Cerelac. It's sweet. He hated it. He hated it in month 6 and 7. But guess what? We reintroduced it at month 8, 9, and he loved it. So even this is in line with being patient with your baby. Just because your baby doesn't like this oat porridge or just regular porridge at the onset doesn't mean you can't reintroduce it later. They're still discovering themselves. So just help them along that journey and reintroduce it later. Number 6, which goes with that point, is when you discover your baby loves something. For example, I discovered my baby loved a banana. When you're introducing something new, I would advise you to add that banana to that something new. If you discover your baby loves breast milk, introduce it with something new. And that way there's a familiar taste. There's not going to be so much resistance. So once we discovered my son loves bananas and we were introducing porridge, then we would mash the banana and put it inside the porridge. It works wonders, these tips. So this particular tip, anytime I'm reintroducing something, I introduce it with something that he actually likes, and together he will actually love it. So be patient, but be very skillful in introducing something new so that your baby can can enjoy that something new. The next tip that I have, which is number 7, is introduce foods kidogo kidogo, slowly by slowly. You don't have to ambush, your baby with so many today, tomorrow, nini. Introduce kidogo kidogo, step by step. You can start with one thing today. See how it reacts with your baby, and this is a point for you to watch out on any allergic reactions, so that you're sure what is triggering your baby's, if it's eczema or something. Introduce and wait a bit, then introduce something else, wait a bit, and see how they react. I used to add something new in my baby's menu every week or every 3 days as they learn new foods. That way I would track to see whether he's reacting with anything, and that way you also introduce new things so that the baby is not bored. Imagine you yourself taking porridge every single day. You'll be very bored. And which is the next tip? Introduce a variety of things for your baby, and that way you won't have a lot of problems. I understand they are fussy eaters, but if you make sure that your baby is getting used to something, one particular thing, imagine they're gonna get bored, and then your weaning is going to become a very tasky affair. Ni fight every time it's time for feeding. So I would advise you, just introduce once you've introduced things pole pole and you see they like this and they like this, then give them a variety of options when it comes to meal times, and that goes hand in hand with making a meal plan. That way you're able to see, am I catering for a carb, a veggie, and a protein? Have we done this too much? Let's do another one. Why is baby resisting? You will know what even they like if you introduce a variety. So number 8 was actually introduce a variety. Number 9, it's very important that actually you introduce water, and that really stressed me because my son did not like water. Like the face he actually made when I first introduced water, I was like, what the hell is this? I just want milk. But we persisted. We actually persisted. And what worked for us when it comes to making him enjoy water was putting water around him. Anytime he was playing, there was a bottle of water there, there was a bottle of water. Anytime we went for a walk, there was a bottle of water. Anytime someone was drinking water, we always tried to, make him sip a little bit, because he'd get very curious that, hey, you're using a glass, what's that? Let me use. So that's what worked for us, making the water available everywhere. And 2, even if it's from my cup, we would make him actually taste it, and he would love it. Even to date, he loves drinking water more from our glass than from his own bottle. So be very patient. Just because your baby has refused water at 6-7 months doesn't mean they will not come to like it, but make it available to them and around them, and persist. Keep offering. Taste a little bit. It's okay. You don't have to be stuck on what Google says they should take this amount of water per day. No, it will stress you out. Just be very patient. Make the water very available around him or her, and very slowly they will love water. Now my son takes like 3-4 bottles of 150 ml of water in a day. I don't even believe it's him, because the first week, I was so stressed because he did not like it. Another tip that I think I shared in my Weaning Essentials video is, when you're giving the baby food, just put a bowl of hot water and put hot water around, and then put the bowl of food inside that big bowl. That way your food stays warm during the feeding time. Remember, we are giving the baby ample time to feed, so we are not in a hurry. Food inaweza poa, it can get very cold, but because you have warm water that you can keep replacing around, it's gonna get very easy, and it's going to be on a temperature, like warm temperature, throughout the feeding process. That way you don't have to keep using a microwave and nini. No, that tip has really worked, and you don't need to buy anything. It's just a bowl, put your food inside, and the water around. Number 10, the 10th tip that I really have is, I have a policy of no force feeding, especially when you're introducing food, because I feel like that makes the baby have a very bad relationship with food. They know when it's feeding, we are going to fight with mommy, we're not going to enjoy, we're just going to cry. I have a policy of just being very patient and no force feeding, because again, we have to be alive to some factors that make babies not want to eat. One, teething. When baby is unwell, they really don't want to eat a lot. Sometimes when they're teething, they really don't want to eat a lot. Sometimes when they are full, and us, we are forcing, because in our head they must finish the plate, they really don't want to be overfed, and sometimes they are not hungry. Maybe they just ate 2 hours ago and now you're giving them food. So I really came to understand that force feeding is not the way out to making the baby eat. Yes, it can agitate you that the baby is not eating well, but sometimes try to put yourself in their shoe and understand why they are not eating, and it's okay. You can try again later. I know it's harder because babies don't speak, but you can always try again later. And one of the things that makes me say force feeding is just a no for me is the fact that my baby has ever choked when with a nanny. If you've ever watched my nanny stories, because to her it was very important that the baby finishes the food, and it's not. Imagine it's not. When they're hungry, they will eat. So be very observant with that. Number 11, please learn first aid skills. Please learn first aid about choking and gagging. Gagging is very normal. Choking, you need to know what happens when a baby chokes. That's the first thing I learned when we were doing weaning, and it's something that I consciously tell my nannies, let's watch this YouTube video of what happens if the baby chokes. Be very conscious about that, because lives are lost when babies actually choke, and it's very sad and very heartbreaking because it's something you can prevent once you learn what to do. Now, the last tip that I have, I think it's number 12. When it comes to using a feeding chair, I had done a poll. It's not a must, it's not a necessity, but it's a very important tool if you can afford it. I understand they can be pricey, but through using a feeding chair, I have learned that you can create discipline around feeding times, that you're not following your baby around. It's not playtime, it's time to eat. And even when they grow, it will be easy for them to sit down with the rest of the family and just eat. So if you are planning to introduce a feeding chair, consistency is key, because your baby will fight it. Consistency is key. I documented my son fighting the feeding chair for 3 consecutive days. He was just fussy, but we kept entertaining him, giving him a toy there to hold it, giving him, nowadays he plays with spoons, whatever excites him, just making sure that he's able to sit down during meal times. It has saved us a lot of hassle, a lot of risks for choking or vomiting. It has really saved us. But if you're going to actually use it, one, consistency. Know that your baby will fight it, but know that it will be worth it, especially when they get to the toddler stage, when they just don't settle down. You'll have already created a system of discipline. So those are my 12 tips for new moms when it comes to weaning. I really hope that they work for you. I really hope that they help you. I might not know everything. I definitely don't know everything. So whatever I have left on the comment section, please let me know. Let me know and share some of the tips that you have or those that have worked for you. Till next time, hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.